Hello everybody, today we're going to be defeating the printer illuminati, or as I've dubbed them, the Printriarchy, by refilling our own ink cartridges. Now, as we all know, the printer industry makes most of its money from ink sales and not actual printer sales. This explains why you can get a $20 printer at Walmart and pay $20-something just for a full ink cartridge. Now, I've been too much of a chicken shit to try this for many years, and just recently I have actually done it, and it's very easy to do. And unless if you're doing a really high volume amount of printing, it's not worth it to upgrade to a laser printer. You can just keep using your inkjet and refill these little bad boys. This is my Canon PG240XL ink cartridge that comes with the standard cheapo Walmart printer. And it works just fine, but it runs out of ink. And, of course, the printer companies would have you believe that's worth about $20-something. And this only holds about 15 milliliters of ink. So, we can, of course, smash the Printriarchy by buying a refill kit, or parts of a refill kit. Let me talk about that. So, you'll see online these ink refill kits, and generally they'll come with the ink. This is BCH brand, I suppose. Doesn't say actually how much is in here. I would say about half a liter, maybe more. I'm not sure. And it also comes with some kind of syringe for refilling the ink. And there are some refill kits that come with these all-in-one syringes that have like a bladder on top of them. Wouldn't really recommend that since you're going to get better value out of those, out of like a bottle and just a syringe. And this came out to about $20 on Amazon. There are some ink bottles that come in 2 liters for even less on eBay, but I just wanted to try the smaller bottle and see what the shelf life of it was. So, let's talk a little bit about the extra stuff that you'll definitely want for refilling these ink cartridges. You'll definitely want gloves, just latex gloves. You're going to want a drill of some sort, or some way to make a hole in this ink cartridge. I have it already chucked up with a 1/16 inch drill bit. You're also going to want a rag. You're going to want a razor blade to peel that thing off. And you're also going to want a good surface to do this on. I have a big cardboard box I'm using. You're working with ink, just think about it. And you're also going to want one of these little cups for, I guess, like lean or some shit. And this is just going to reduce your spilling potential, and it'll make it easier to draw from the syringe to a little cup like this, as opposed to the big old bottle. So, let's get started. So, of course, step 1 is put on your gloves. You're working with ink. I recommend the TSA gloves in TSA blue. I suppose the nitrile gloves in the luxurious TSA blue color. And you're going to want to grab your ink cartridge, and you're just going to want to go ahead and peel the label off. Now, I should mention that before you start doing this, you should look up your ink cartridge on the internet. Just put in the model number of it and then refill instructions, and there's a couple of websites that show really good instructions. They also show the capacities of these cartridges. This one happens to be 15 milliliters. Some of them are lower, some of them are higher. And I've only reloaded Canon cartridges, so I'm not sure about all the brands. I know Epson does some really weird shit with their cartridges, and I'll go ahead and explain what I mean. This is like a normal one, where you have the ink sitting in here, and there's a sponge, basically. They call it an ink pad, but it's a sponge. And that actually holds the ink, and then the ink comes out here onto the paper. Now, with the Epson cartridges, they have it where there's no ink pad in here. The ink pad is in the printer, and then once the ink pad runs out, you have to throw away the printer. It's a weird problem, and I'm glad that Canon doesn't do that. So, anyway, the refill instructions for this printer say to make a hole through this little pinhole here, and we're just going to go ahead and bypass that because we need 2 holes, one to actually inject ink and the other for ventilation. And when you're injecting, if you don't make a ventilation hole, all of it will come out here, or at least a lot of it will, and you don't want that. So, we're going to go ahead and make 2 holes. And yeah, I know I just said that we're going to ignore that hole, but we can actually widen it out with this drill. Now, we don't want to go too far into the cartridge. We want to go like halfway maybe, so around there, something like that. So, just grab your drill, start it on the hole, nice and slow. Oops. And let's go all the way through. Okay, so that's a good first hole. Go ahead and do the second one now. And most of these ink cartridges are the same. It's just plastic and then ink pad and then the bottom part. So you can just drill a hole through the top, it'll work fine. And this is just our ventilation hole. And of course, the nice thing about it using ink pads is that it's less likely to spill out the top, so you don't have to worry too much about covering these holes. So we got our 2 holes in there. I don't know how good the camera focuses, so let's get this out of the way. Slip it through here. There we go. We're done with the drill. So now it's time for the ink. Be very careful. This is just a cup from a bottle of lean. Put that there. Now, of course, you could draw from the big bottle, but it's kind of a pain in the ass, and it's much easier to draw from one of these little cups. What's unfortunate is that this cup is actually graduated in imperial, and we're only using metric for this, so you kind of have to eyeball it. So, you know, you've seen the movies. Take your syringe and go ahead and load her up. Be sure to count how much you're doing, because you'd rather not overfill it. And like I said, the capacity of mine is 15 milliliters, so this will take 3 whole syringes. Now, you could do the whole thing where you put it in the air and you flick it and knock the air out, but since we already have an air hole in this, it's not really necessary. So you just go ahead and put your needle in there. Try to get it into the sponge, and you want to take it nice and slow. You don't need to go fast with this. Just start injecting it. Notice how there's no ink coming out of the top, and we'll check the bottom here in a minute and see if we're doing a good job or not. Nice and easy. Okay. Looks good on this side. And a couple drops of ink from just pulling the needle out. So we'll do that again. And put it into the same hole. As you can see, I'm getting ink everywhere. That's what the rag is for. We'll clean it up in a moment. And this is essentially the same process if you have normal color ink cartridges. You would have the same size cartridge, except you'd have 3 reservoirs for cyan, yellow, and magenta. And it's the same idea. You just refill them with this kind of syringe. Of course, you would want 3 separate syringes so you're not mixing colors. But black is so easy. Alright, so this is our last syringe here. And as you can see, we eyeballed it nearly correct. We still have some ink left in here that we'll go ahead and pour back into the bottle. Alright, so we'll put that in there. Now, of course, this is the last one, so take it slow. And if you see any ink coming out of your vent hole, go ahead and stop. You have filled it completely. And of course you don't want to overload these things. Perfect. And that's it. Go ahead and put your cap back on. You can try cleaning this off with water. I don't bother. And you'll want to go ahead and just wipe this off with your rag. There you go, nice. And you could put your label back on. The instructions you see will tell you to leave it off because it needs ventilation, but for whatever reason, the original equipment manufacturer decided that it doesn't need ventilation, so we don't need it either. Just put that shit back on there. Of course, you can leave it off if you want. It doesn't matter, at least in my experience. And once you get your label sort of on there, go ahead and put your ink back in the bottle. Ink back in here. Clean your cup off with your rag. Oh, I got ink on my finger. See, that's what the gloves are for. Just clean off the excess ink. Check your privilege and tell that Printriarchy to go fuck itself. So now it's time to load our ink cartridge. This is my actual printer. It is a Canon MG2120, and I need to dust it off, but whatever. So just go ahead and power this bitch on, and we can start the reloading process. Her up. Eventually, it'll pop out for us. There we go. Take your black cartridge out. You're empty. This is one I use normally, but we're using this one as an example. Go ahead and load her in there. Pop it up. Close it. And normally your driver's software will still bitch at you and say that it's an empty ink cartridge. However, there's a way to bypass it. If you hold down the stop reset button, it'll stop caring. So let's go ahead and do a black scan and see if this thing works. Or black copy, I suppose. We have some software in the scanner bed, so this will give us at least some kind of result and show that ink is actually flowing. Once it loads. Looking good. Looks good to me. I think the Printriarchy has successfully been smashed. All the privileges have been checked. We did it. See, we got some software in there. So, really easy to do. Just look up the instructions for your specific ink cartridge. It's pretty simple, all around the board. You just drill a hole, fill it with ink, and then put it in your printer. Saves you a ton of money. And like I said, unless if you're doing really high volume printing, you're going to be better off using an inkjet anyway as opposed to a laser printer, since I'm pretty sure you can't reload toner, but you can reload regular ass black ink. So thank you all very much for watching. Power to the people. Smash the Printriarchy, or the printer illuminati, if you will. Thanks for watching.